In America, we're raised on a promise dressed as a rule. Work hard, stay focused, and no matter where you start, you can rise. But for millions of people, that rule breaks the moment life begins. Welcome to Filtered Society, where we expose the myths behind the money. Today we're asking a hard question. What if social mobility isn't just rare, but rigged? Let's start with a fact that should shake us. In the 1940s, most kids grew up to out-earn their parents. Today, that number has been cut in half. And if you were born into a low-income household, your odds of climbing out are among the worst in the developed world. That's not failure. That's design. But we don't treat it that way, because we've been taught to think poverty is personal. We confuse income with effort, and we've built a culture where success is proof of virtue and struggle is treated like a character flaw. And nowhere is that lie louder than on social media. Scroll through any platform and the message is the same. You just need to want it more. Discipline is everything. Losers blame the system. We don't just hear these messages, we're sold them. In YouTube ads, Instagram captions, podcast clips, by people who have turned content into cash and now call themselves self-made. But dig deeper, and it's almost always the same pattern. They had support. They had safety nets. They had access most people never see. What they really had was insulation from the consequences of failure, the kind of buffer that money, race, and geography quietly provide. And that's the part that never makes it into the post. Because we've turned mobility into a brand and erased the reality underneath, we'd rather repost the story of the one person who beat the odds than confront the millions who never got a fair shot. So instead of questioning the ladder, we blame the climbers. We ask, why don't they work harder? Why don't they just move? Why do they make bad choices? But no one ever asks why some people don't have to climb at all. No one questions the kid born at the top who never had to hustle, because his hustle is invisible. It's embedded in legacy, in networks, in trust funds and tax breaks. That's the truth the American dream never wanted to admit, that the ground isn't level, the race isn't fair, and the finish line is rigged long before the game begins. Until we tell that story, we're not just spreading myths, we're protecting the systems that keep them alive. What if the most important number in your life is your zip code? Not your GPA, not your salary, not even your credit score, but 5 digits that quietly decide how far you'll go before you ever get the chance to try. In America, geography is destiny, and the map is rigged. Welcome back to Filtered Society. Let's talk about what it really means to grow up in the wrong place. It's not just a cliche, it's a statistical reality. Where you live dramatically shapes where you end up. In high opportunity neighborhoods, kids from low-income families are more likely to go to college, earn higher wages, and live longer. In low opportunity zips, often just a few miles away, outcomes crash. Same kids, same drive, totally different results. What's the difference? Access, investment, safety. Not mindset, infrastructure. Public transit might connect you to jobs or leave you stuck. Your school might offer college prep or just classroom chaos. You might live near a grocery store or nothing but liquor stores and fast food. And if you're Black or Latino, the chances of being locked into disinvested neighborhoods skyrocket. That's not random. It's the aftermath of redlining, exclusionary zoning, and generations of policy that segregated opportunity. Those maps from the 1930s, they still echo today. Because school funding is tied to property taxes, wealthier neighborhoods fund better schools, creating a loop that locks people in place. Better zips mean better schools. Better schools mean better jobs. Better jobs mean more wealth, which stays concentrated. It's a rigged cycle, and you can't hustle your way out if the doors were never open to begin with. Researchers found that when low-income kids move to a better area before age 13, their future earnings jump. Wait too long, and the effect fades. That's not about grit, that's about exposure. We built cities that protect wealth and isolate poverty. We drew school districts like borders. We bulldozed communities to build highways and called it progress. But who benefits? Because while some kids are born into springboards, others are born into cages. Not because they deserve less, but because the system delivers less based on where they sleep. So the next time someone says, "Why don't they just move?" ask this instead. Why do they have to? Why is opportunity only available to those who can afford the right address? Until we answer that, we'll keep pretending the game is fair, while the map proves otherwise. If the system is broken and the map is rigged, why do we still believe poverty is a personal failure? Because we've been trained to. Trained to see struggle as weakness, to see success as virtue, and to ignore the invisible forces that shape both. Let's talk about blame. And who benefits when we aim it in the wrong direction? If you grow up in a neighbourhood with underfunded schools, no access to fresh food, no mental health care, no stable housing, is working harder supposed to fix all that? If your parents are juggling 3 jobs and a broken healthcare system just to keep the lights on, does discipline really change the odds? Personal responsibility matters, but it's not a substitute for public responsibility. And yet that's not the story we hear. Podcasts, reels, hustle influencers, even celebrity billionaires. They tell us struggle is a mindset problem, that success is a formula, that your poverty is proof you didn't follow the steps. Grind harder. Don't make excuses. Anyone can make it. But these messages don't just motivate, they erase history. They ignore how wealth grows tax-free, how redlining still echoes through neighbourhoods, how entire communities were locked out of ownership, credit, and generational safety nets. They pretend we all start at the same line, and if you're behind, it must be your fault. But when you zoom out, the pattern's clear. Upward mobility is rare, not normal. It's easier to shame the individual than to question the system. Easier to praise the exception than to admit the rule is broken. Easier to scroll past injustice than sit with its weight. But social media gives us the power to rewrite what gets seen. We can highlight stories that name the barriers, that expose how policy, not laziness, drives inequality. That reframe failure not as weakness, but as a signal the game was rigged. Because most people aren't broken, they're burnt out. Burnt out by a system that demands perfection and delivers scraps. By a culture that celebrates wealth and punishes the poor for surviving. Upward mobility in America is still possible, but it shouldn't be a miracle. And until we stop blaming people for problems they didn't create, we'll keep protecting the system that did.